Okay, so living off grid and being into emergency preparedness, one of the least favorite subjects we want to talk about is how we take care of our human waste. It's a bit of a nasty, gross subject, and I'll try and gloss over the worst of it here. But what I'm going to do is show you a temporary emergency composting toilet. Although I want to say that it doesn't really compost. All it does is dry out the human excrement to the point where it's safer to deal with in multiple ways. So a friend and subscriber asked me to get him the dimensions on this so he can start building one for himself. And I will say that this has been working very well for 6 months, not on a full-time basis, but it's doing very well. And eventually we do plan to put in a septic and a fair income flush toilet, but until then this is what we got. So just a couple of basic, if you can see down there, basically it's a 4x4 base to it, so 4 foot by 4 foot. It's 82 inches tall, and then the roof up on top of that. And I don't think the dimensions are that critical, except for when you come to the actual toilet section. Now you'll notice on the floor I've just made up some I've had some scrap 2x material, and I've used that as the flooring, but that only goes as far as the edge of the toilet right here. Okay, it doesn't go in beyond that. So there's a about 1.5 inches drop down to the chamber area. So what I got here is, so that measures 19.5 to 20 and inches. So if you were going to build this, you'd initially build this up to about 21 and a half, the way I did it anyway, and I'll show you why that's important. So while I'm in here, I'll show you a couple things. You've got a toilet seat there which drops down into a chamber area which has got a couple of large plastic totes, 27 gallons to be specific. So one on this side, one on that side. Initially there was one here, and when it got near to full, it got moved over here to continue drying out. This is working very well. There is almost no smell in here. It's very, very clean smelling and hygienic. Very few flies, even though it's fly season. That's another problem of emergency toilets or long drops. I remember when I was a kid, we grew up with a long drop thunderbox, basically a giant hole in the ground, and when that hole got filled up, you'd move the whole toilet over and you'd dig another hole. So this is much cleaner than that. I remember flies and spiders and even rats running around through the long drop area, those old toilets. So they were pretty gross. Now, in here, you'll see a fan. Alright, just a little 12 volt 2-wire, what is that, 6 inches across? I want to say 6. Alright, so 6-inch diameter fan, like for what used to be used in computers, and it's running off a 10-watt solar panel on the roof. I'll show you in a second. But the trick to this is one part, the fan is one part, turn that up, one part of several different ways that the air keeps flowing through this toilet chamber, and it dries it out quicker. It keeps like a positive pressure in there, so that I think that helps keep the flies out, to be honest. And then that air, it goes actually down. There's like a vent coming down in here, which goes down into the toilet chamber. And what that, so it goes down into the toilet chamber, and then I'll show you where it goes after that. And as long as you keep that seat down, and it's mostly not 100% airtight, but it's close to airtight. You see I put all the foam around the edges there, so that fan is actually pushing all that air through. And then, the door just closed up on me. There's the ducks. This is the type of tote that I'm using. Okay, 27 gallons, I believe. And there's 2 of them in the sun box. So as well as the fan blowing air into this chamber, because this sun box is actually the chamber that you dump your excrement into, and goes into there, sun heats it, so heats the air, and then you've got this tall black pipe going all the way up there. Kind of looks a little silly, but it really works well. So not only do you have the air heating up in there, you've got the fan blowing through, so you're providing air circulation, and you've also got this large black plastic pipe which creates its own airflow through. So with the sun hitting that, it's creating a really good drying effect on the excrement. So yeah, that's probably, the most critical aspects of it. This is working really well. And all right, what do you do afterwards with the dried out stuff? And you can incinerate it if you have the means to do that. You can bury it, you can compost it, but if you bury it or compost it, the materials should not be used. Like if you bury it and use it for plants, it should not be plants that are used for food consumption for humans. Okay, so incinerating, you probably use a lot of firewood and just burn it up real good. But yeah, that's it. Now this thing here is just a counterweight. You see the string going up there to the top. I'll show you what that does in a second. And at the top of the dunny, basic roof, made some recycled iron. I got one small solar panel. There's no batteries. That solar panel just runs that fan directly. So whenever the sun is shining, that fan is blowing. Another thing, as far as hygiene, you're going to want water and a hand washing basin nearby, and this is working for now. Just soap, bit of water, another tank of water there. So that counterbalance that I just showed you see that there? So that string running through there, it just makes sure the door remains closed, and that's good for the functioning of the toilet, and it's also good to prevent damage to the door, because the wind, if the door gets to flapping in the wind, it breaks pretty quickly. And yeah, and what else? Okay, so when you've done your business, just some wood shavings in there, and that once again helps with the drying up process and helps keep the smell down. Okay, and yeah, that's about it. Once again, temporary toilet, much cleaner than a porta potty in my opinion. And if I had to do one thing different, I would probably put 2 toilet seats in, one here, one there, so that instead of having to move those containers underneath, I could simply start using a different seat. That might be a better solution for this, but this is working fine for us here.